Welcome back to the European League Championship Series. Up next is our last game of the week between SK Gaming and H2K. H2K, they lost to SK when they met back in week 3, and SK will be looking to lock up the series after their first loss handed to them by Fnatic yesterday. Let's start by taking a look at the table-topping SK Gaming lineup. Freddy122, Svenskeren, Fox, Forgiven, and Rated, and they are coached by Interflame. Now, yesterday, they just got outplayed on an individual level in their very first loss versus Fnatic Tabs.
Yeah, I do think they got outplayed individually. If you saw what happened in mid, Fabifin just coming up huge, and Rainover and Hunia also just making these really crazy individual plays, but also coordinating with them very well.
Let's actually take a look at how SK lost by the numbers, how they were handed their very first loss, and a couple of the different factors that they didn't do that well in that one. The first one we see here is a gold deficit of 1.6k at 10 minutes and 2.7 at 20, which actually isn't that huge.
It's not huge, but the one thing is it's the first time SK's been down. Traditionally, SK have had such a strong laning phase and they haven't been punished this hard. So this was against the norm.
Yeah, and secondly, taking a look at some of the individual performances in that team. Freddy122 choosing for that Renekton, of course, a Azir nerfed in this one, and 1.13 KDA is not to the standards that we've seen him in previous games.
No, Renekton has been a bit of a comfort pick. He's actually been very good on it in the past, managing to bring it out in even the unusual situation where you wouldn't expect him to play Renekton. This game didn't really work out though.
All right, another individual performance was the one of Svenskeren, someone we also are looking at, especially to be a counterweight for Rainover in that one, but he just couldn't bring that counterweight.
He really could not perform. Going into that game when he picked Jarvan, I thought Svenskeren had the champion that he needed to get SK ahead, and he simply was outplayed by his opposite number. Another big problem for SK, and I really hate saying this, but if you look at the wards that they placed, it was their second lowest number of wards in any game they've played this year. So they simply did not have the vision, and that's why Fnatic were able to punish them. Just one last thing to note, in the game, SK had no control over Dragon. Going into the game, they had 30 Dragons to Fnatic's 17. By the end of it, they had secured 2 of the 6. Fnatic had complete control of that objective.
And Eric, one of the things you were calling out before that game was you can't give SK Dragon control or Dragons. They only got the first one very convincingly, and that's one of the keys to taking SK down. Yeah,
I think if SK is allowed to have that Dragon control, you really can't beat them because they set it up so well. Fnatic really managing to break through that very well. They managed to just keep on getting these Dragons, even after SK getting the first one. They didn't get the timer maybe, and yeah, they still managed to get it.
Yeah, one thing that stood out for me, last week when we watched Fnatic lose, there was like a playbook that the Copenhagen Wolves were playing from, is they picked apart the weaknesses. Fnatic may have been inspired by that loss because they looked at the weaknesses of SK, the early greedy play, the 1-3-1, the lack of vision, and Fnatic exploited every weakness. We need to see whether or not H2K can do the same thing because they are equally as smart as Fnatic as they've demonstrated in the last few weeks.
It might seem a little harsh from us to put these, the weaknesses of SK yesterday on the veteran on the stat book, but if you're a team that is #1 and undefeated, that's the first time, and you have to learn from those mistakes. See if they can in this one. Their opponents are, as said, H2K on the red side, Odoamne, Lulex, Ryu, Yarnan, Kasing, and their coach, of course, Prawley. Yesterday, the Unicorns of Love, a battle of the two newly added teams to the LCS, and they just continued on the good pace that they did last week. One of those things were contesting Dragons and just team fighting and making sure they could take those objectives afterwards.
Yeah, the thing that stands out for me about the game is actually Odoamne's Gnar. I really felt like Ryu did not have the strongest of performances on his Orianna. He had a few ultimates that caused his opponents to flash away, but I never once felt like that Orianna was the reason they won the game. I felt the reason they won the game is because as a team, they made good plays around Dragon. As a team, Odoamne was the front line that was peeling Unicorns of Love around, and I just think the decisions and the map play was more important than individual.
Yeah, this game was basically just the Gnar show. I felt like Odoamne had so much map pressure. He could just go anywhere and the enemies would have to respect it.
Yeah, very impressive as well, because he got solo killed by Vizichachi's Aurelia there early. He kept a level head, and he still managed to go on. And H2K, what they need to do in this one, because great, they beat the Unicorns of Love. They went 2-0 last week. This time, SK Gaming, top of the table.
Yeah, SK Gaming, they lost yesterday, so I really hope that H2K did look at the replay, just try to identify some of the things Fnatic did right and what they did wrong, and improve even more on the strategy that Fnatic used to beat them.
I think H2K, if they play like they did last week when they beat Elements, can win this game. What they need to do, though, is they need to find a crack in the armor, exploit it, and then once they get control, they are smart enough and capable enough to actually control the game. But the trick is to find one weak point. If they don't get that, foot in the door, I don't think they can.
Yeah, they have that replay to learn from. We'll see what they come up with. And H2K have really turned it on with the addition of their new support, Kasing. And as you'll hear, an injection of positive vibes in sometimes exactly what a squad needs.
I pretty much got kicked out from my last team, and it felt undeserved because I didn't get kicked out for my own fault. It was more because of the internal problems. But now in H2K, it's everything's fine, and I really enjoy the team. I mean, it's gone really well so far, but the thing is, I never played with him before. I mean, playing with him is different. It's a different approach, and I quite like it.
Some positivity can be what you need sometimes, Officio. Now, we're about to get into Champ Select for that last match of the week. I think it'll be really interesting to see if SK can take something from that loss, because that was the first time they really were challenged.
Yeah, they, again, as the analyst has said, and as everyone have talked about, Fnatic's early game, Reignover was running rings around Svenskeren basically. He was camping Freddy, who we know always plays very aggressive, especially when he picks a lane bully like Renekton, and there was no wards placed at all to try and spot Reignover coming in. So I feel like SK hopefully have been looking at that game and said, okay, we need to put more focus on our vision early on and not disrespecting, I'm going to use that very lightly, whoever we're playing, and not just play over-aggressive and not knowing what's going on, because that's what Fnatic used to get the lead. Also that 2-2 fight in the mid lane, where FLICKR got 2 kills.
Right, exactly. We'll see if they can do that this time, do a little bit more of that vision control, and we're going to see what they end up picking here. Picks and bans, SK Gaming, H2K, Zed is off the board almost immediately.
Yeah, no surprise against Ryu. And obviously also with SK actually losing to Zed yesterday from FLICKR. And it is a champion actually good against them, because SK loves to play a lot of individual play, like 1-3-1 focus for them. And that's where Zed can be a real pain. Also Aurelia actually in this case, to kind of one-on-one you and shut you down in these split pushes they like to do.
See what H2K answer with. So far banned the Kassadin out. And for H2K too, it seemed like their win yesterday, they were just better at playing the standard game than the Unicorns in that situation. They've got to be riding high going into this and knowing that SK is fallible. It's really, they can take advantage of the same holes that Fnatic found.
It's really been a big thing for H2K. The timing they use on their comps of when you can fight and when you can push, they use it really, really well. 2 wins last week, and also against Unicorns, how they managed to avoid that mid-game siege the Unicorns could have pulled onto them. Actually waited it out, just got 2-3 items on Orianna. Then they looked really team fighting. That was just, again, great timing by them and knowing exactly when you can use your champions and the power spikes you do have to your advantage.
Right. Nidalee off the board was taken away for Svenskeren, who had that monster game on him a few weeks ago. Lissandra also taken away. Now H2K thinking long and hard about this last ban, because there's a lot of powerful picks available. The Narvin combo, it looks like it's going to go through. They banned the Graves.
Yeah, so for SK, normally here they would take a Zir, but this again is on 5.3, where he has been nerfed quite a bit, actually. So for them, is it going to be Nar suddenly coming in? Will they try and get the Jarvan for Svenskeren, despite him actually losing out yesterday? No, we're looking towards the mid lane instead. And oh, actually, just missed it here. With the Zed and Kassadin, again, you kind of ban out the counters to the LeBlanc. So it's a fairly free first pick for SK, where they don't have to worry too much about the lane matchup.
Right, they clearly had that plan. And remember, before this, Fox had not played the RA in the the LeBlanc in the LCS. He brings it in, and he just blows people up with a 10-0-3 on that one. However, this has left H2K with their pick of the jungle and the top lane.
Yeah, again, they can go for Nar Jarvan if they want to, but we often see teams take Rek'Sai over Jarvan now, just because she's a bit strong in the early game in terms of their dual potential, and also her ganks. Fantastic with the fact that you can tunnel over so many of the big walls, where most of the other champions can actually go over their wall and also still gank after, because that's always the problem for Jarvan. If you use the EQ combo to jump the wall itself, he has to wait for those cooldowns before he can really go in. Where Rek'Sai, yes, you won't have your tunnel to close the gap, but you will still get that knock-up just by moving close to people and getting an auto attack range. So that's always a small advantage for her. Now instead H2K, leaving that jungle open.
Yep, they grab the Gnar, they grab the Annie. SK Gaming now eyeballing the Rek'Sai themselves. And I think the Gnar is a pretty heavy priority pick, but they could have taken both it and the Rek'Sai. I think they're really prioritizing, though, this support Annie.
So they want to take Annie away from Enrated, despite it actually being his worst champion. We have seen him play. He's normally a lot better on disengage focus supports, not the ones where he has to make the big plays. And they're basically telling SK, do you want Jarvan, do you want Rek'Sai? If you take the Jarvan, fair enough, we get a fine jungle pick for ourselves, which we're very happy about. If you don't, we get this Gnar Jarvan combo, which used to be the 5-0 one, now has lost quite a few games, but it's still so insanely strong in terms of team fighting, especially when you're against a team who rely a lot on their AD carry. When you have a Gnar and a Jarvan to jump him in the back line and you really try and shut him down, then you can somewhat eliminate him from fights.
Right, so they get to hedge their bets in that situation. SK are going to go ahead and grab that Rek'Sai. Also the Kennen. Freddy did, of course.
I've seen it before, yeah.
He did have that pretty solid game on it.
Was banned by Fnatic, and again, Kennen got a few buffs coming into this patch, especially the W one now that allows you to max that one in the laning phase, making you a lot stronger in the early team fights compared to beforehand where you would max Q for the lane. And then that would obviously mean you only had single target damage outside of your ulti, but it wasn't that powerful now because you can use this W as soon as people are in your ulti itself, meaning you can max it and actually get good AoE damage. And it looks like H2K not going for that Jarvan, instead want even more peak potential with the Rengar and Sivir. It works the same way as we have seen Elements try and play against SK. If you want to split up in a 1-3-1, we're going to hard engage on you and never mind the Rengar for now.
Well, they go to the Lee Sin.
That's honestly, in my opinion, the worst jungle option they can take against SK.
They do have a lot of chase, but I agree. It's a little bit weird that they didn't go for the Jarvan, not just because of the Gnar combo, but because they have so much chase down here. They have the Sivir-Annie combination bot lane that was so deadly in the opening weeks of the LCS. They have a Gnar, can hop, close the gaps, and when you take a look at that, Forgiven's thinking about something a little bit different here. Goes for the Caitlyn. We haven't seen him play anything but Graves or Lucian.
Yeah, it's been an old pick for him. Back when he played for Copenhagen Wolves, it was one of his main picks. Always full focus on winning his lane, getting that early tower, and then he quickly rotates to the other lane, fast pushed him in. Lulu coming in from Enrated wouldn't be a surprise. Very, very strong early lane from them and a lot of fast pushing potential. These waves are going to die so quickly. And that's why SK now can play their typical style. You have the 1-3-1 setup with Kennen in one lane, LeBlanc in the other one, and you have this Caitlyn Lulu for wave clear. And also for the tower damage you can do. If H2K suddenly falls behind, these towers are going to die very, very quickly.
SK Gaming in the comfort zone right now. Will H2K find an answer to be able to shut them down?
I really want to see what Lulix is going to do on Lee Sin, because normally into Rek'Sai as well, that's not even a very good matchup for the Lee Sin. Rek'Sai, if she's very good, can dodge, basically block his Q, so when he goes in for the second activate, you unborrow and you actually knock him up so you don't take that damage. But even without that, you have a fantastic ability to one-on-one him, and you lose out on that hard engage ability, which we normally see some teams at least trying to pull off against SK Gaming. So when they split up in the 1-3-1, you have that hard engage to just go on to Forgiven or whoever you want to, kill him, and then force SK to back off and suddenly go back and defend.
Ryu is going to pick up the Ahri. Had some mixed success with that one. I think probably you can see fairly happy with that one. No emotion really on the side of Inner Flame. He doesn't reveal much, that poker face.
A little bit of a tricky matchup though for Ryu in this mid lane. Also after the Ahri nerfs with more mana cost on her Q. So LeBlanc can really decide when to trade early on with her distortion. And obviously no Spirit Rush yet before 6 for the Ahri. It's a bit of a tricky matchup for him. Not the worst, it is a skill matchup. But SK Gaming are looking for some fantastic strong lanes, going back to what they normally love to do. Dominate the laning phase. Every single player gets an advantage, so he becomes so strong that the other team can one-on-one him or 2-2 them. And then again, you split up in this 1-3-1 and you push down every single wave. Lulix on Lee Sin is going to have to make some plays early if you want to do what Reynoa did for Fnatic against SK to try and shut them down.
Precisely. Although H2K Gaming were the ones coming up with the win yesterday. It's SK Gaming that aren't going to have quite as much pressure on them. And I really want to see what H2K are able to do early on, because they have the makings of what can be a good pick and chase composition. They can grab individual targets. We'll see if they can pull it off, though. Let us know what you guys think. Go ahead and tweet at LOL Esports with that hashtag SKWin or H2KWin. Let us know if you think H2K can make the difference this time around against Europe's best. We're going on to the Rift. The crowd is getting fired up. Our last game of the day, our last game of the week. SK Gaming versus H2K, and it starts right now.
And two very explosive comms here from both the teams. We're going to have a lot of action in this game, that's for sure.
I have my eye on that mid lane. Anytime you got the LeBlanc, Ahri, Fox, and Ryu, it should mean some fireworks.
And again, this Lee Sin pick here, it's simply because Lulix want to make sure he can actually make some plays early on. He didn't want to Rengar, so he had to wait for level 6, and he would risk getting invaded by Svenskeren. And Jarvan, well, that again would, in my opinion, probably been the best pick for them, also in the comp as a whole. But we have seen the Rek'Sai Jarvan matchup a few times, and it is a bit tough for the Jarvan to really catch up.
Well, there are a lot of ways to escape from Jarvan on this side of SK, but all the same, I feel like, yeah, in general, unless you really want the Lee Sin kit to work in your favor for picking up quick kills like that, that's about the only thing I can see. And if your mechanics are going to be able to pull that one off, so it's definitely a risky choice for H2K.
And also, it does give him a kick for the Kennen. So when Kennen tries to go in for the engage, you kick him back, and you hopefully burn his ulti. Because Kennen has always been a champion who relies so much on his ulti in team fights. Once it's gone, he doesn't really offer too much after that. So if you can manage to kick him away from Lulix, then again, that explains the pick. But it does mean he needs to play near perfect in every team fight for it to really work, compared to, again, the Jarvan, the Rengar, whatever other options they had.
Looks like we might have some standard lanes around here. Forgiven and Unrated haven't shied away from this. Not going to be able to spot Hjarnan and Kasing moving on up through the river.
Yeah, and for SK in this case, they're fine actually doing both lane top and standard lane. They're going to see Kasing and move in, get a good early trade. No jungle camp being taken. And some fast push from Hjarnan here. But just look for SK to play really aggressive in the laning phase, both with the Kennen and, of course, the Kate Lulu here. Early pushing in. They want to get down these 2 outer turrets, like we normally see from them.
Going to attempt to do that one as the game begins. Forgiven. Really, really wanting to trade this one out early. The zoning pressure from an early Caitlyn is not to be denied, but Enrated's the one who's taken quite a lot of abuse across the rest of the side of the map. Top side jungle starts for both Lulix and Svenskeren.
And normally, or well, if we go back to like last year, they would tell us, okay, the early focus is going to be on the bottom lane, but now that the junglers do recall, often after getting the 2 buffs, we don't really know exactly where the focus is going to be. But we do see this Caitlyn Lulu taking control of the lane early. Lulu is, again, one of the best supports at level 1 and 2, just because of her passive coming in. You basically have to burn through her mana pool, and a support like Annie's not able to do it because she has no sustain to then kind of like out-sustain the Lulu itself. Right. And that's where it's often a bit of a tricky lane matchup for her, especially early on.
Oh, and it's so annoying to deal with, the harassment that you can throw out there. Up at the top lane, Odoamne and Freddy are going to just grab themselves some of that sweet, sweet farm. Going back to the mini Gnar form. It's going to be hard for Freddy to actually get a quick catch onto Odoamne. He's been playing. Odoamne has really actually leveled up in the last couple of weeks, I feel, as a player.
It's been very,
really
very solid.
His positioning rapidly improved.
He looked good in their expansion tournament, the Challenger Series, but he's just coming here to the LCS and clearly not been anything in terms of nerfs or adjusting to the scene. He's actually been good from week 1 for H2K. And you just have to wonder what this team, I mean, could have been. They were used to have Fabiban in the mid lane, now playing for Fnatic. Rio was the replacement, and while in terms of purely one-on-one, Rio has done a good job, we have still seen some problems between him and his teammates due to simply the lack of communication.
Right, H2K hopefully able to not let that worry them too much here. In the bottom lane, it is being shoved in, the typical SK bot lane dominance. The rest of the lane's actually not looking too great for H2K either right now. Farm advantage in the middle for Fox.
Yeah, I'm very surprised H2K actually took the standard lanes, even invaded in knowing SK was on the bottom side and didn't try and swap away from it, because Caitlyn is a hard counter to Sivir in the laning phase. You outrange her completely and you outtrade her so easily, especially also with a Lulu on your side. So this bottom lane is going to go so heavily in favor of SK that they're going to take a tower, get a massive CS advantage, and then they're just going to swap Forgiven and Enrated to the top lane after, where Kennen is going to have basically a farm lane against the Gnar for now. And then they're going to push down a second turret, and suddenly you have these outer turrets gone, and it's always the risky thing. If you lose your outer turrets to SK, that's the way for SK to get information, because then suddenly they can push the minion waves further down to the tier 2 turrets. And again, they have that short route through the jungle to out-rotate you, and they suddenly don't need the wards on the map because they can see you sit in your tower defend every time because you're not strong enough to fight them. And that's why you cannot lose these auto turrets against SK so early on.
Yeah, you definitely can't lose the early game either. Lulex is going to try to make something happen, but Fox is going to be dashing away. And it's Ryu dashing back in. Slightly better trade for him, but he had some jungle help.
Yanan had to get a long sword on his first
Svenskeren.
Svenskeren, yeah, he's waiting for Lulex.
Stop between a Raptor and a Void Burrower. Svenskeren is going to say thank you very much. I'll gobble up that camp.
No early ganks for him. Just been doing the standard Svenskeren style, getting a little bit of a counter jungling in.
Both of them running the Trailblazer too, not particularly interested in that one. Forgiven is actually going to take quite a lot of damage as he gets stunned up. Yarnin gets turned around, the Peacemaker. Oh, the Ignite! Do they have enough damage? Not quite! That's a heal. And Forgiven protects his KDA again.
Both the AD carries here running away from the enemy support. Quite a trade and actually a good catch from H2K onto Forgiven. He was stuck there taking minion damage as well. It's a good trade from them. Of course, a heal. So a lot of summoners being blown down here, but none of the junglers looking to gank.
Oh, Svenskeren actually going to move onto Ryu, who's going to be able to dash to safety. As we say, here's the flash. Forgiven. Do they have the damage? It's First Blood. Yarnin coming up with a pick onto Forgiven in lane, looking for an aided as well, but they don't have enough in the tank.
Yeah, one of the summoners still available was that flash from Kesing. Forgiven stayed in the lane, low HP. Nice play here, really punishing him for a bad trade first, and then staying in the lane where the Annie could flash and stun him.
The lane synergy that Kesing has brought since he's come in.
Look at them on the player cam.
Really, yeah, they're just so happy. I mean, they talked about it in that video. Definitely a good impact in the first few games Kesing has had on this H2K squad.
And it's hard to describe how important that kill was. It actually meant Yanin could go back, get a pickaxe himself now, and start trading back with Forgiven a little bit, start wave clearing, at least against him. So this means suddenly this tower is not going to go down that fast just from getting that kill on Forgiven. So well played by H2K.
Well played
even guards can bleed, remember.
Oh yes. They can also out CS. You can still see those numbers pretty big there, but that kill is going to help even the score a little bit for Yarnin in the bottom lane. Meanwhile, taking a trip up top, double door and start for Freddy. Still a bit of CS over Otawamne. Kesing now taking a little bit of a roam, going to try to clear out that Rek'Sai tunnel. And Ryu will join him while Fox is pushing the minions away from mid.
I like this early ping as well from H2K and a lot of wards around this mid lane, because it's always been the weakness of SK. But look what they're doing. Changing up the styles. Double ping ward. One for your mid lane and one for your jungler. That's not something we normally see. So clearly SK have already learned something from the loss yesterday, and knowing that you can't just play you can't just play by or win by stomping your lane because you're better individually than whoever you're facing. You have to at least get some map control early on.
Right, very valuable lesson for them to learn. And they didn't seem too perturbed by it yesterday, to be honest. Even after that loss, you saw him on screen Forgiven. As he wraps up his mouse and keyboard, he was smiling. And you got to think that they were able to take that lesson quite quickly.
Yeah, the thing is, as a team, you're already 8-0 at that time, before the game, obviously, against Fnatic. So you know you're looking towards the playoffs and a good seed in the playoff itself. Getting a loss is not always a bad thing, because it makes you realize, okay, how exactly did we lose here? What weakness did the team exploit, and how can we fix it? So I actually think for SK overall, it was good for them to lose a game and realize that, hey, we're not unbeatable.
Absolutely. See if they can rectify that today. So far, still pushing in versus H2K. A little bit of a gold advantage, not a huge one here though. And they have invested more in those wards so far. H2K likewise have tried to control a bit of this vision. Dragon Pit is lit up like a Christmas tree, at least around it. Kesing dropping the Tibbers on Forgiven and Unrated. They also get the Boomerang Blade around there. Got to be careful though. There is a Void Burrower hiding.
Oh, he's going to see Kesing walk straight towards... Oh, no, he's sending in a Tibbers first.
Check. Brilliant.
Smart. Good play.
Very brilliant. So they're going to be able to walk away from that one. Nice move by Kesing here. And they even get the ward cleared away. And Tibbers gets smited for all his trouble.
Getting that 50 gold for Sven, but that was a nice little play by Kesing. Sending in
much
Tibbers
cheaper
first.
than losing your life.
For sure. And again, this kill they got earlier has basically stopped Forgiven and Inrated from fast pushing that lane. So H2K is buying a lot of time for themselves here.
Yeah, still losing out on some of that sweet, sweet CS, but they haven't been able to dominate quite as hard as they normally would like to. Ryu pushing the wave into Fox. It's been a very quiet lane considering since the one gank attempt Svenskeren made earlier on. But it's not too bad for Fox as he finds himself up about 20 CS.
Yeah, this is what we normally see in this matchup, where again LeBlanc will get the early lead because she's the one deciding when to fight with Distortion, and Ari can only respond by really landing the charm or time the orb deception really well. But now again with these mana changes to her, it becomes a bit harder in the laning phase, you go more reliant on the blue buff suddenly. So this is pretty standard for that lane, and H2K knew that going into the game.
Right, and Ryu is a guy with a long-standing pedigree of performance. Definitely knows these matchups inside and out. Not too worried about being a little bit behind early on. The Morellonomicon completed by Fox as he backs away. Everything else settles out 11 minutes into this game. Yet to be some huge action. But in an SK game, it is only a matter of time.
And they are slightly ahead, but they, again, this is not this type of early game we typically see when SK win games. They already have a goal lead by now. On average, before the Fnatic game, they had like 1,400 goal lead at 10 minutes.
That's been cut down here to about
and now,
600,
yeah,
700. Oh, it could be
nice
a little
job.
bit less in a moment. Fox taking quite a lot of that, but Ryu nimbly steps away from the chains.
And Ryu not going all in here with his ulti. He didn't have vision on the top side because there's a pink wall being placed by SK, so he couldn't really go for the kill, not knowing where Svensson was. So instead, saves the ulti, just get a good trade for himself, and now he's going to place that ward. Will also spot a pink. And he made the right
Lulek
call.
Too. Both junglers hanging out up in this top side, but Lulek's in plain sight. FLICKR sweeping in the tri-brush, not going to find anything. Kasing on a roam here too.
He knows he's not spotted. There was a pink ward on the way. Well, okay, there can be a ward here, but Fox is not
Oh, he's
going
going
to
to flash Tibbers. They get the stun after the fact. He moves away. Mimic is popped. Ryu's not able to get the charm connecting, but it did cost Fox a summoner.
Good roam here by Kasing, forcing the LeBlanc back to base. Svensson is now in here to defend. Nothing happened in the top lane. Just a few early roams. Ryu getting a lot of damage on this tower as well.
H2K being very proactive though.
Yes.
Maybe not knows as much with Lulex, but the rest of the team has been really, really proactive in trying to punish SK for moving too far forward.
And every single hit on that mid turret is going to be a big deal for H2K, because now with Yanen doing so well in his lane, despite being slightly behind with the kill, getting that BF sword as well, kind of surviving the early stages of the Caitlyn, he can actually push in his wave very, very often and slowly chip away in that tower. Once it's dead, because the mid lane is already down to 50%, then he can move in there after, fast push that one down, and suddenly you have 2 outer turrets for yourself. He's going to get this one now. Forgiven's not going to be able to get there in time. Next focus is the mid lane, get that one down, and suddenly you have a goal lead against SK.
Right, that's not something we see too often indeed. And H2K Gaming off to a great start. This one evened up the gold count. Got a little bit of vision around the side here too. SK, they have been investing more and more in wards than we've seen in previous games. However, H2K have still been able to get the jump on him a couple of these situations. 1 tower to none in favor of H2K.
Well, been all about Kasing, honestly. He was the guy to set up the first spot. Good roam in the mid lane as well.
Ooh, on the hunt.
Yanen.
Well, yeah. Oh,
One for trade
there's
here.
the net. And really, you've got to be careful.
Oh,
It's just
Duane is
explosive
coming
first.
behind them.
Yep, he's nearly in Meganar. There's a flash for it. Forgiven is going to be able to get out of this one. Teleport now for Freddy, and they're going to even the score. It's going to make them think twice about full engaging. Lulex making moves into his own jungle. Might find Fox in just a moment, but Fox is going to find him. Takes down half his health bar and gets a flash for his trouble. Here comes Odoamne. Forgiven is into the wall. Wild Growth is on Freddy though. Zoning Kasing and Yarnin away, and he's going to get polymorphed. Take quite a lot of damage on that, and H2K decide maybe they don't want to kill Forgiven that bad.
Nobody ends up dying here. H2K, not sure if they knew Freddy was still in the lane, if he had already recalled. Obviously a cannon with his ulti can zone you away fairly easily. So no kills. Close attempts, but nobody dying. And SK putting a bit of focus here. Let's be careful. He's all alone.
Yep, chains Ryu. He could be in some trouble, but it's Fox who looks like he's about to be taken down. They give that one to Ryu. Good guy, Lulex.
That was a bit of a solo play, trying to clear pink ward in a very risky spot where everyone else from your team is already either back in base or very far away from you. This is going to be the mid tower as well. H2K off to such a good start, really punishing SK for being maybe a little bit too individually focused right now, especially that last kill was fairly simple for them.
Yep. Lulex now, he's going to try to find and raid it, but he's
Another
got
one.
some help from
Kasing is here
Kasing.
too.
Hello, you flash, but you still die. Kasing coming up with one for himself, and that's about Dragon time.
Exactly the same as before it though. A guy trying to clear ward on his own, catch him out. Kasing on this ending here, really roaming around a lot. He's been such a good player for them. He's been here now for 2 weeks. And he's not lost yet in the LCS with the H2K.
So far, a pretty good record for them. They take Dragon #1 as well. SK Gaming falling a little bit flat here, and they can't really go in either of the jungles without having some trouble.
And now SK get the same problem they had yesterday, against Fnatic, where you fall behind in global gold. So suddenly you're not strong enough to split up in that 1-3-1. You actually have to sit back and defend against what H2K is doing, and then you're forced into 5-on-5 team fights, and that's not where SK normally shines. They shine on their map control, their individual ability to kill people one-on-one or pressure them down to a tower at least. That's gonna stop right now because H2K has played this early game so well.
Exactly, and this, since that's so crucial to their identity so far, we'll see how that affects their game going forward. Wild Growth onto Fox, but he's stunned up anyways. They're going to drop the Tibbers on his face, and both him and the clone, they tried to juke it. Kasing is going to pick up another kill.
I really like Annie against these mobile assassins in the mid lane because she just walks up to you, clicks Q on your face, and you will get stunned. Then you can tip us after, and you just single out a target like that. Another kill for H2K. Just missing that top lane turret, but they don't really need it at this point. Gnar can just sit and farm against Kennen, and they might be able to just take over the bottom side of the map instead and push down this mid and bot lane for them.
Yeah, he has been so instrumental here. You gotta be careful not to get caught up. Svenskeren is able to clear the ward away, but they got a pink for that one. Reward that brush up. Oh wow, ward wars. Okay, Svenskeren's gonna back off from this one.
One by the H2K.
Oh, hey, it's crap time. Oh.
That's close.
Yes, it was. The rest of the team now, yeah, they've got to find an answer to H2K running them around the bend.
You have to remember with the Caitlyn, if she doesn't win her laning phase, then she has a very hard time for the next 10-20 minutes before she hits 3 items on her. Because her mid game is very poor, especially compared to Sivir with the utility she's going to bring. So SK looking for the room. Lulex, he's reading it. He's already sitting here. Gonna trade a bit with Svenskeren and just make sure they don't dive Odoamne.
Yeah, really, really nice to abuse SK's blindness in here. And Hjarnan actually going to push down the bottom side. Of all the AD carries to send split pushing, I feel like Sivir's probably a pretty good choice. They're going to get some serious damage on that one, although Forgiven is making moves down there to try to defend. He's taking the long path.
And it's so fun to see because this normally is SK doing what H2K is doing now. You push every single lane at once, and now they're even going for Freddy.
Yep, they should be able to find him. He connects with the Sonic Wave. Resonating Strike goes in. Freddy using his mobility, but the house! You can't escape. Hjarnan could be in some trouble, however. Gonna heal on the hunt at the same time. Big speed boost. He makes it out. H2K 5 kills to 0 versus SK Gaming.
And that's gonna be the top lane going down as well now after that kill. While Hjarnan was buying time in the bottom, and even still, with the ulti they go for.
Oh, nope, Fox is out.
Jumping away.
Comes right on back in. They've got a little bit of minions here. Rio's not going to try to go too crazy. The charm won't connect. The chains will, however. Fox looking for some revenge. Here comes Svenskeren. Maybe they overstayed their welcome. A couple of knockups. Kasing, he's polymorph. SK Gaming find a double kill for Fox in the mid lane.
I think you said it right there, Pyra. Overstaying their welcome just a little bit. Hjarnan had got back to base. Archery, that was another game. And while you had the Lee Sin and Gnar in the top lane as well, still going for that risky dive. And in the end, SK do manage to come in and actually get a few kills for themselves. Now, need to be careful. Odoamne and Gnar, he's looking for kills.
And he's looking for Mega Gnar at the very least. And rated Svenskeren. The raid's a little bit low. They're going to turn their attention to him. Here comes Forgiven. Odoamne going Mega Gnar, throwing another house at Enrated. He seems to have Yordles on the menu. Can he get another? Yes, he can. A third one would do it, but it's Hjarnan who picks that one up with a nice boomerang blade. 2-6 is the score. H2K. Not much to take on the bottom side, but how about a side of crab?
Odoamne is going to be huge again. Warmock's already in. Went straight
and
to
a Maw.
More mortars for him against the double AP from SK, knowing that the Caitlyn won't be able to take him down fast enough, won't be able to burst him down, so that Maw is going to pay off a lot for him with some extra AD whenever he drops low end. Freddy, my friend,
could be in some serious danger.
You are toast.
Looks like he's ran out of a charge. They triple team him, and they give that one. It looks like any time now over to Rio.
Come on, Kasing, you got to grab that one.
Yeah, he's already got 2 kills on the board. The kill, Kasing stands for kill secured, but not this time.
KSing for sure. Good old Kasing.
Odoamne looking to 1v1 Svenskeren. Got a little bit of time on that Gnar charge, but he's actually going to hop up. 2-level advantage here. He's got to be careful because Fox was coming to the rescue, but H2K really seemed to have got SK's number so far.
And Freddy, he pushed up the lane. He had one ward in the river to try and see what was going on. And obviously, he never got to spot H2K coming up to kill him. That's another tower for them. Yanin is trying to defend the bottom lane at this point. But H2K, they don't care. Yeah, you can lose one tower. You got 4-0 already. You have taken full control of the game. And we're hitting this mid-game point now where this Caitlyn needs a lot more time to scale up. And while she won't get that time because there's enough engaged on the side of H2K to just keep forcing picks and taking down towers.
Even more towers. So H2K
Locket
here.
completed.
Yep, they've got that locket. They've got that gold edge here, really serious one. And SK Gaming, I wouldn't say they're scrambling, but even with that 2 picks on the board, which they were able to punish H2K for earlier, just individual outplays where they usually shine, H2K have really taken it to them.
Yeah, H2K have always managed to out-roam SK in this game here. Kasing has been roaming around on this Annie a lot. And Reddit is not a support who makes those kind of plays, especially not when he's playing the likes of Lulu. He's always sitting with his AD carry, and that's where H2K said, fair enough, we can have our Sivir on her own, while Kasing can move to the mid lane over and over. He's been part of so many early kills on this Annie. And then obviously with Lulix, kind of reading Svensson again, always being there for either counter gank or the gank beforehand. Dragon will go down.
That's stolen away. There's the teleport. Yeah, Lulex, he's going to try to run his way out of danger. Fox is going to get popped by Kasing again. Yarnin in a little bit of trouble himself as Forgiven slides his way to a kill in that one. However, yeah, it's a 1-for-1. Meganar incoming. It looks like he's not quite got it. There we go. Nar against the wall. In comes Ryu. SK Gaming trying to answer back. They find Ryu as well. It is a 3-for-2 in favor of SK, but they've lost another dragon.
They lost another dragon. We saw H2K. They didn't really want to fight yet. They were waiting for Odo Amno to get closer to that Meganar, so he didn't actually join the fight before it was a little bit too late for him. And SK managed to get a few kills at least for themselves. 2 for Forgiven. That's going to be important. Let's see it again. So notice how Odo Amno here, he's trying to stack up his rage here, get towards that Meganar for the fight itself. The steal doesn't happen for SK. The fight is on. You don't see any Nar. He's not part of this fight at all. Good ulti from Freddy. Using that W now. Remember, people just got to be in range of your ulti, and then you will get the W damage. Now Odo Amne can finally join, but they've already lost it and even get poked down quite a lot before Meganar comes in. Forgiven. He's not level 1, by the way. That's
yeah, that's a bit of a...
In case you were confused.
Of visual confusion. Nonetheless, note his positioning in that fight. Able to sit in the back, draw attention away from himself, and then he just slides into the pit when everyone's already evacuated from it. That's what he's done so great here. And it's actually very surprisingly had so much trouble in lane because his positioning has been so impeccable. Kasing now, ooh, that is a value ward.
So he actually deactivated the ward first and he didn't hit it. That's why SK couldn't see what was going on, and then he backed away and then they could clear it. Focusing here. 3 kills and 3 assists on Annie. So Odo Amne, had he just had a bit more rage and got the Meganar earlier than H2K, would have had a very different fight.
Yeah, it is definitely very timing based, but SK, if the fight happens on their own terms, they seem to have no trouble taking it. They've come back a little bit here. Still have to be careful, have to defend the siege from H2K.
And what H2K is doing, they're seeing Freddy. They know teleport is down from the last fight in the side lane. He always sits there and farm, and instantly they just go 5 mid lane, get a lot of damage on the tower, and force Freddy to recall. That's one way you can play against SK and make sure you eliminate that 1-3-1 split push they love to do.
Well, look at this. We have got a classic death rush here. The question is, will SK take the bait? Oh, the Tremor Sense. You can't move when there's a Rek'Sai on the board.
Spotted by SK. Still staying 5 together for them now. Trying to get a bit of control around this Baron area. And also, top lane is actually pushing in. Same for the bottom lane. So they can go and push it, but won't really be able to do it in time. And honestly, we're just going to get a lot of 5-on-5 team fights here between these two teams. Whoever gets the right engage or the proper vision down before the fight starts should be able to win it, especially because H2K side, when you have flash on Annie, pop the Sivir ulti, tapers onto the likes of Forgiven, the likes of even the cannon here, before he can then activate his Outlast, you can take him out.
Yes, indeed. They've been able to move around, try to separate away from Freddy, but if he does get those perfect zoned engages, H2K have been having some trouble. We'll see what they do going forward. Still the 2 dragon advantage to them. If they get this next one that's coming up in a little bit, they will have that extra move speed boost to move around SK. They've grabbed the tower already. It does seem to be all about that mobility, all about that quick in, quick out, guerrilla warfare style of play.
I actually think H2K here, they could split up themselves in their 1-3-1 and just pressuring down the lanes. Gnar into Kennen at this point with the Mortal Mortals and so much HP for Odoamne. That's a lane where he can at least keep it even. And then Ryu is actually going to be stronger than the LeBlanc at this point. So if you have them in the one-on-one, that's in favor of H2K, and suddenly they can actually push down at least 2 lanes at a time and start doing what SK normally would do, and then really spread out the map and use your early lead. And also that opens up for Kasing to then roam from the mid lane together with Lulex and then create a very, very quick pick on one of the side lanes. But they have stayed together, which has actually bought time for SK Gaming to get some farm in. Freddy's been in the side lanes. He's on 235 on the Kennen. And again, you see him there. He's not getting punished at this point for just sitting and farming.
No, right. They're roaming together too well, or too much rather. And SK Gaming, like, you know, that's fine. We're just going to keep putting pressure on the side lanes, try to dry you away. Now that Dragon's a minute away, however, it starts to get really frantic. You sent Odoamne up top. He's got the teleport available. Both top laners do, really. But you see Freddy actually making the slow way there. And while the vision's controlled by H2K for the time being, all it takes is for them to start backing off, and SK can move on in.
Yeah, exactly. And just by always pushing the lanes, you force H2K to always go back and defend those lanes from the minions. You see the LeBlanc doing exactly the same. Bot lane is pushing in. Freddy's going to go back to the top lane, push that one back. So basically now, H2K is allowing SK to sit and farm. I really want to see him play more aggressive in that 1-3-1 and just use Kasing and Lulex to roam between those lanes, because once you push them down to the tier 2 turrets, that's again where you get that situation where SK always have to run back to their own base and take the long route around to defend their lanes, while H2K can just walk straight through the jungle because they know where everyone is, because they push them down to the towers where they're sitting and defending. But just been waiting for Dragons. They have, I mean, they are 2-0 on that, so that maybe they're just saying, we're going to play the long game here and go for 5 Dragons.
It just seems a little uncharacteristic if you take a look at their performance yesterday. They punished the Unicorns, they forced them to fight on their own terms. Maybe they don't feel that they can do that against SK Gaming, but it just seems a little bit different from what we expected coming into this match. Now, Dragon's actually going to get procced by a Peacemaker from Forgiven, and H2K, they're making moves towards it, but both the top laners are off in their own island. Dragon actually going down very quickly. Can Svenskeren come in for the steal, though? He's certainly going to try. It's not going to go in. Teleport now coming in. They've zoned Kasing out Fox. The fight, though, is happening back at the pit. Svenskeren taken low. Freddy got 3 members caught up in the pit himself, but he should be in some serious trouble. They blow their spells a little early. Meanwhile, though, Odoamne zoning the rest of the team finally goes down. Fox is going to pick up a clean double. However, Svenskeren on the retreat path. Those tunnels saving his bacon right there. It is a 1-for-2, but H2K again come up with the Dragon.
Yeah, they get the Dragon, but they lose the fight itself. Meganar wasn't ready for Odoamne again when he teleported down, and Freddy, despite coming from the flank, didn't get the perfect ulti off by himself, but he did buy enough time for SK to get 2 kills.
How cool ahead you have to be as Forgiven when you're being chased and you still have enough time to grab the Scuttle Crab. Oh, it's okay. I'll grab that. I'm on my way out.
Let's see the fight again as well. So it was a good TP timing, or good fight start from SK. No Meganar for Odoamne, and again the flank coming in from Freddy at this point. So while he doesn't get the perfect ulti, he's still zoning out Lulex, Yana, and Ryu, or keeping them at least in the Dragon Pit while Forgiven. And obviously the rest of the team in the backline, we don't actually get to see it now. Can get at least 1 kill.
Yeah.
2 kills now on Odoamne.
A little misplayed. They shoot the spells out too early. They didn't time the Zhonya's correctly for H2K, and I think they may have had a bit better timing. Had they been able, or if they had a bit better timing, they may have been able to salvage that, maybe make it a 2-for-2, 2-for-3 in their favor. Still, SK Gaming, they're not getting the objectives where they need, but they are able to outfight. And if it does come down to one of those big late-game explosions, that is where we have seen them shine.
Yeah, and again, we have this Caitlyn who's been able to really farm up 2 items completed. It's going to be a last whisper soon for Forgiven, and he has that average blade, which has given him currently 529 gold for himself, which obviously gets into the static shift later. So he's quickly going towards this 4-item spike on the Caitlyn, where she suddenly becomes one of the great hyper carries in the late game, and Kennen as well in late game team fights is fantastic. So they're fine. Finds him. Yes, okay, you don't want to lose all these dragons here because now you have to worry about the 5th one. but they can fight for the next one and be a lot stronger, because then Forgiven should have his items completed. And H2K has not been able to use their lead for anything. So they're just playing that dragon game themselves, which we have seen a few times. And now Ryu actually going to the bottom lane, trying to set up a little trap. And if Freddy shows himself, will be Yordle on the menu.
Could be possibly. Now, Ryu trying to push this wave in. The rest of H2K in and around that jungle. See if they're confident enough to push in. You know, Svenskeren and Narrated are there, so it won't be free. In the mid, Odo Omne is actually starting to shove this wave uncontested, but H2K aren't keen on taking this fight. Seem to be they don't want to until the dragons are up.
But this is a start here. You take 2 lanes and you start pushing them down at the same time. You know you can't really siege on SK because of this Caitlyn with the wave together with the Lulu. So that's why, again, you try and split it up a little bit. At least get the minion waves pushing down, so you force SK to set their own turret, and then you move into the jungle. You deny full vision here. But it's just so hard for H2K to do because they're not that strong anymore.
And they're denying buffs too. Importantly, Odo Omne is actually able to grab that red away. So the gold lead evened out a little bit. It's still 2,000 to H2K. It doesn't mean quite as much at 31 minutes as it did before. And the 3 dragon advantage, that's really pushing them in that edge right now, but they're still not confident that they can take the fight. Maybe get some picks. Ryu's waiting very patient.
Look at the minimap here. There's still some good wards from SK to see if H2K is actually moving around in the jungle. So that's why, again, Forgiven here can still take a fairly safe route despite Ryu waiting for him in the bottom lane here. So again, we're not really seeing H2K choke out SK. Bind them a bit more time. It's not over yet for them. 3 dragons still. It's the game they're playing, the long game, the 5th dragon one.
Well, as we saw yesterday, even the team with 4 dragons to none can end up losing. SK Gaming, I'm hoping that happens here. Still starting to even up that gold gap. A lot of waiting in brushes here to see if they can get picks. So again, nobody wants to take a straight up fight. They're playing a little dirty.
Ryu can look good. There's so many wards for SK, so they know where they can run in this jungle. They don't really have a reason to fish this one for Ryu.
There's the charge. Oh, it
just missed.
Looks like it hit, but by a pixel.
Very
Fox
close
is going
for
to
him.
be wiping the sweat off his brow there.
Static shift completed.
Gotta leave more wave
Forgiven. And there is a lot of armor coming in for Lulix and Odo Omne, so not having that last whisper will hurt him in this next fight, because there's going to be a fight in about a minute's time for this dragon.
Yep, Sing's going to take an ace in the hole, has to back away. Tower's actually being pushed by SK here. I do like how they've controlled the vision a lot better this game, or at least pushed in a lot more wards than they usually do. Even if a lot of them have been in their own jungle. They grab that outer turret. They've now got the 3 outers themselves, looking to set up control of the Drake pit.
They already have a lot of wards, have a pink wall placed in a small bush in the middle of the river.
Oh! What just happened there? Because Sing, I just saw his health bar going down. I gotta see that one again.
I think he caught the LeBlanc trying to jump the wall. I mean, this is gonna be four dragons for H2K now. What a great pick for them.
Long enough death timer. They're looking for more though. Odo Omne is about to go Meganar. He can zone anyone away he wants. And they're actually gonna start pushing in middle even without the wave. Oh, the house. Svenskeren could be in some trouble. He's gonna dodge out, bob and weave. He gets away from that one, but you're right. Dragon's about to be alive. And
bot lane turret here, big wave already. Ryu's gonna take it. So get a tower now. You gotta kill, and you're gonna get that 4th dragon. Suddenly, SK Gaming needs to start to worry.
Going to be able to clear some waves. Actually moving up towards the Baron right now, and this is being pinged out. H2K know this is happening. You're going to leave Lulex
no
on
mid laner, so H2K should be able to stop this one very easily.
They're just trying to draw pressure here.
Yeah. You see Odo Omne staying. SK Gaming were hoping for H2K to give up that dragon and now rush to the Baron itself, but obviously with Odo Omne staying and now the rest of the team joining in, no reason to leave it. Lulex will be able to finish this one.
Smart response for H2K.
Great response.
Their bets yet again. 4 dragons to 0. 34.5 minutes in, and now they're in a great position to start pushing mid. SK have to back away here. They're using the blue pills, and there's a wave approaching.
Let's get some damage.
A lot of damage, it would look like.
Well, again.
No, not enough fast response, and now the inhibitor is bare.
Sven wants to flank on them. He's going in now. We're going to have a fight.
Yeah, we are going to have a fight. Svenskeren, here comes Freddy. They get the knockup, and H2K could be in some trouble, but the Meganar comes in. Svenskeren getting low, taken down to double kill over to Hjarnin, and they have turned it around. It looked dire for just a moment, but the flankers were flanked.
They can go Baron here. Odo Omne has teleport ready, so you can go and heal up, teleport down to a ward. They should be Baron for H2K as well. That was a very nice fight. It actually looked bad in the start with SK with the flank and the ulti from Freddy, but he didn't manage to outlast in time, so he ends up dying for it. Now teleport coming in from Odo Amner.
Zoning Tibbers too, they knew exactly what they were going to do.
Should be bound for it.
They have studied the video, they know exactly what SK want to do, and they know how to beat it. It looks like Fox waiting in that brush, but that is not a safe place to be. The charm is going to land Fox. He's just gone.
So while we had like the last 10 minutes being fairly slow, it's just been H2K waiting for these dragons here, and then as soon as they get a pick on them, they get the 4th one, go straight down, push the mid lane, got a great team fight, got the Baron. They are looking really good now all of a sudden, turning on the power again.
I don't care what kind of wave clear you've got, Forgiven. You can't push against this team. Another charm lands on Svenskeren, forces him to tunnel away from that one. Inhibitor tower going down once again. They've got the 4 dragons. They've got the Baron buff. Lulex going in. He's going to get turned around, but they find the inhibitor. They chase him around. They find and raided as well. They're going to back out. No, they're actually just going to
so many minions here.
They've got a big minion wave.
Still, 30 seconds on N-rated.
3 seconds on Fox. They're going to get a little more damage now. This is the safe path. This is still SK Gaming. However,
and you have 4 dragons to 0. You don't need to risk it.
Take a breather for just a moment, because H2K Gaming, they have just looked so good at countering this SK style of play.
It's really been from the early game for them. They was so well played. They got the early towers. They got that kill onto Forgiven as well, which simply meant SK could never get to play their game. 2 times we've seen them now being behind, and 2 times they look to be losing from them when they can split up in their 1-3-1. Suddenly, the other team can actually dictate the map, and H2K has just been a great story this season here. Coming in, so end up in the first week, getting that 0-2. Then they go 2-0 the next week. It's like, oh, H2K looking really good now. Then they replace Voidal, get Kasing in, get another 2-0 week for them. Might actually messed it up here, but it's a 2-0 the first week, then 0-2. But the point is, they got Kasing in, and from there on and out, it's been some fantastic games from them. And they're sitting now as a top 3 team in Europe.
And if they upend the number 1,
SK as well.
Yeah, this could be a massive boost for them, not just in the standings, but the confidence. SK Gaming, though.
Gonna flank around them again here, or hoping for a face check.
Oh, that was close. Yep, Forgiven gonna run. Okay, that one's spotted. Ace in the hole coming out. They try to bail away from this one. Do they have it? Svenskeren, he goes in way too early, and he gets taken out by Ryu. SK now in full retreat. Here comes Freddy. Got his Zanya's going, but it's only going to stall for some time. He's going down. Yarden with the unstoppable kill. Inhibitor tower number 3 now being poked down. The waves have been stopped temporarily, but SK Gaming, even when they have the flank, they just don't have the finish. Tower 1 down. Looks like inhibitor number 3 is about to go as well. SK, they're on the cusp of losing 2 in a row.
2 in a row. Nobody would have expected that coming into this week. H2K, they have all the super minions. They're going to buff them up as well. This should be game for them.
Yeah, H2K pushing on forward. They've got the mini waves all over the place. Fox can't do much to defend it. He's going back in to try. They're going to be able to zone him out. Lulex is still down in this one, but it doesn't matter. H2K, 38.5 minutes, pushing forward, and the League of Upsets continues. Big smiles on the faces of H2K. They have just upended the number 1, I suppose now number 2 team in the European LCS. After that, Fnatic actually owns a tiebreaker.
Didn't Fnatic lose earlier today?
Oh wait, never mind.
So
I am totally wrong. I got too excited.
Had they won, you would have been right. But for H2K, fantastic early game from them all around here. Played it really well, got the lead. And then because they had those 2 dragons to 0, they didn't feel like they had to make any aggressive plays, so they just sat back and waited. Got the 4th one after they suddenly created a few picks on SK, and then they used it to just go down and actually finish the game in the end. So just turned off the power, you know, gave it a little bit of time, and instantly turned it back on when they had to finish out the game.
And for SK Gaming, you know, we're talking about what they could take away from that loss. What could they take away from this one? Because it just seemed that going into this, H2K had one thing on their minds, and that was beat what they knew they were going to get thrown at. Probably there's another big smile for him. He is very, very happy with his team's performance, and
stage
who
manager
wouldn't
Kevin
be? Yeah, and stage manager Kevin.
Being there, talking a little bit to the players,
oh,
out who we want to interview from H2K's side. But yeah, I mean, for them, 4-0 now with Kasing. Top 3 team. coming into this split, when Forbidden left and joined Fnatic, we didn't really know what to expect from them because he had actually been the star player, or at least one of them in the mid lane, and Rio had some problems here in Europe, not really performing too well for Rocket, for Millennium. But now it just really seems to work. Kasing has added some new spark to the team. Oduamne is always playing out of his mind. And obviously the laning phase itself, for all these members, are actually very solid. That's why they can stand up to SK Gaming in standard lanes, win that early game, and use it to take the game as well.
Absolutely. And you can't understate Kasing's impact on these games. And, honestly, Voidal was not a bad support by any means for the team, but it just seems that this is a very different, a very fired up H2K squad.
Yeah.
And all those moves, all those roams on Annie, he enabled so much for them.
Exactly. I really love the way he was playing the early game, saying, I know in Red is not a roaming support. He's going to stay on this Lulu with his AD carry. So I can now roam to mid lane and actually start creating some picks or at least apply pressure onto SK Gaming. And it worked so well because he was 2-0 and 2 at some point, had gotten 2 towers as well for his team, while Yanin was just sitting and free farming on his own on Saber anyway.
Yeah, that was really about all you could say for that one. Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Let's send it over to Quickshot. He's on site on the stage for a look at H2K's big win.
Thank you very much, guys. I am joined on stage by Kasing, a.k.a. Kaching for H2K, and their coach, Prolly. First of all, the crowd is clapping, and deservedly so. Let's start by talking about the game. How do you feel considering you out 2v2'd the untouchable Forgiven and N-rated, and you made the pick on Fox that allowed you to get that whole push towards the end of the game? What's going through your mind at the moment?
Well, I can't believe I killed Forgiven in the early game. Like, that was crazy. I didn't expect it. I really respect him as a player. I think he's like really good. But I have to also say Hyanan also played really well. Like, without him, I don't think I could have killed Forgiven. So, props to Hyanan.
Well, congratulations. You were definitely finding picks all over the map. Probably as the coach, when I was watching this game backstage, it felt like all of your players individually played on a level that we haven't seen them do this year as often. It's about the best game individually. Would you agree? Would you disagree? How do you think the game went watching from externally?
Yeah, I think most lanes were slightly behind in CS, but overall, like, performance is really, really strong. And SK has probably one of the best early games in EU LCS. So although they're like slightly far behind, they like kept up the aggression and kept up like kind of the map movements. So I was actually really, really happy with their performance, and the 2v2 kill was really good. Because before the game, I'm like, should we 2v1? And Kasing goes, no, let us 2v2, please. I was like, all right, you guys can 2v2. So.
Well, it worked out. I mean, you guys completely outplayed SK Gaming. From the early game, it felt like you were in control. 4-0, your debut in H2K, undefeated. Are you the magic ingredient that's made the team win?
Maybe I am. I don't know.
I tell you what, let's make it a little bit less intense. Why are you guys 4-0 since you've joined?
Well, basically, as soon as I joined H2K, like at this beginning, everyone respects me as a player. Like, they listen to when I call like what to do and stuff. So I guess it's a mix between me improving as a shockler, because I never was a shockler before. I was not so good at the game, but now I am pretty okay, I guess. But that's all.
I like you getting some nods here from Prolly. I just got 2 more quick questions before we throw over to the analyst desk. And I want to know, what is it like for you rejoining the LCS? You played for Super R Crew last year. I specifically want to know what it's like during picks and bans, knowing you've got an American import in your ears, and we hear Prolly talking often. So I want to get the player's perspective and then the coach's perspective, because again, you've both been on stage. How different is picks and bans now that you have this communication, extra communication?
Well, basically, probably pretty much always pretty much gives us a really good comp or clear plan on what to do in specific, like first ban, second ban, third ban, etc. And I think probably because he understands the player's perspective, he also includes like a player's comfort champions, what they prefer playing, even though like this another champion might be better in one specific comp. Is ultimately the coach probably is really good because he understands how a player would think. And I think coaches, they can be really good, but I think I'm going off topic.
That's fine. Probably, what's it like arguing with the players, telling them how you think it should be done, and again, your perspective on picks and bans?
Well, for my opinion on League is it's very much a confidence game and comfort game. So even though I'm sitting there, I'm like, all right, logically crunching the numbers, I think this champion's better. They sit there and they're like, no, give me this guy. I'm like, yeah, that's okay. Because if you're playing like towards your strengths when you're like comfortable, you can just play way better. So I kind of really, weigh their opinions in on stuff. Because I know they respect what I think. So I know when I'm like, oh no, this pick's better, they'll think about it and go, no, you're an idiot. Let me pick what I want. And I go, yeah, okay, you got it.
Well, congratulations. The guys in the crowd definitely love you. Kasing the King, probably 4-0 H2 Gaming. Congratulations on another flawless week. We're going to head back over to Shocks and Tabs to wrap up the week. And thank you to this incredible audience for their energy all week long.
Thank you so much as well, Quickshot. I am incredibly impressed with the game and also what they just said and then saying, well, probably we want to take this 2 versus 2, even though this isn't the ideal matchup for us because we want to go up versus Forgiven and Rated. And you called it at the very beginning, they were suffering a little bit in that lane, but it's credit to them that they were able to turn it around.
Yeah, I definitely think that's very confident by them to just try and take this 2v2. If you saw the level 1, they got very far behind. They got pushed into a tower and poked down quite a lot. After the first base, Caitlyn had a pickaxe and Sivir only had a longsword. And at this point, I think Forgiven really dropped the ball, making 2 mistakes in a row. First of getting very low and then just getting flashed on by Annie. I don't know what he was thinking. Maybe he was underestimating them a little bit. But yeah, definitely props for Kasing there, just making that flash play and getting that kill.
We also were caught a little bit off guard by the fact that Forgiven chose to go for Caitlyn in this one and not something like a Lucian. Maybe it would have even worked better in the comp as well because it was a little bit from a lot of ingredients in that comp, but not really something well rounded out.
I actually think Caitlyn is very comparable to Lucian. They both have very good poke in their ultimates. They have very good wave clear in their Qs. They can. It works well with the Forgiven and Rated playstyle of pushing very hard. Caitlyn is probably even slightly better than Lucian in lane, being able to poke down enemies from really great distance. So I don't think the pick was a problem at all.
All right, then, well, just H2K, testament to them. They are able to make off the picks as well. And Fox in this one, LeBlanc was the very first pick, but he got picked off a lot. Credit to Kasing there, a lot of the time finding him, but his positioning was a little off.
Yeah, not only Kasing, but also Ari here, like just managing to get these pickoffs. Fox being in the wrong place at the wrong time so many times, leading up to H2K being able to take these dragons, being able to take these barons, and that was just sloppy really being the name of the game here for SK.
Yeah, and goodbye H2K picking people off. Let's actually take a look at a replay of one of those moments where Annie realized that she could just jump on the mispositioned Fox.
Yeah, Fox getting a bit too over-aggressive here, jumping over the wall, but just getting instantly stunned by Annie. A very good mindset by Kasing to just instantly throw down a Tibber stun.
Yeah, if we look at the things that were helping, or that we looked at for SK in the losing game yesterday, we had FLICKR not being able to make his mark, Freddy not being able to make his mark. You thought that the cannon was a very good idea, but he just didn't get the flanks off as much as he'd like to.
Yeah, I do think Cannon was a very strong pick for the team fights here, because in the enemy team you have an Ahri, it's quite low range, you have a Sivir, very low range. It's very easy for Cannon. Once he gets to level 16, he can get so many stuns off in these team fights, especially in low range characters that need to get into that Maelstrom to deal damage. It's very high zoning ability.
At the end here, H2K, fantastic week once again for them. And SK Gaming, what do you make of this? It'll be their first week they come out of that. They have lost 2 times and having to regroup into next week.
Yeah, really surprising. Coming in 8-0 this week and then losing 0-2. Especially, okay, the first one against Fnatic, I can kind of see that one coming. But this one against SK, H2K, I didn't see that coming at all.
Yeah, let's see how they bounce back from that one. With just 4 weeks left in the split, let's take a look at the standings here in the European LCS. They're crazy. SK are still in first, but we know they're mortal after all after an 0-2 week. Fnatic are just 1 game behind them in second, while the Copenhagen Wolves and H2K are tied in the number 3 slot. And following an 0-5 start to the season, Gambit has done a complete 180 and climbed into 5th place, joining the Unicorns of Love. It's all crazy here.
Yeah, I'm really surprised just to see these Wolves so high, especially, like, I didn't really know what to make of them in the start, but they've really blown me away.
Yeah, and a big part of the Wolves' climb into the top 3 was their 80 carry Freeze, who, with 12 kills, 12 assists, and a quadra kill today, is a fantasy leader with 52 points.
Yeah, Freeze really showing his value here to the Wolves.
Yeah, we were kind of debating how he would contribute to the team coming into this, but he has definitely been pulling his weight. And Freeze wasn't the only one to make a splash today. Our expert team has picked 5 players that were, without a doubt, OP. So let's take a look at those. The first one, we have to mention him, Odoamne. His Gnar is fantastic, and he proved it again here today.
Yeah, his first game there, he definitely carried almost alone there, managing to get all of the map pressure. Second game, another Gnar pick. managing to even do just as good as in the first game, really, but in a different way.
Yeah, as we see there also yesterday with the Orianna combo, absolutely deadly. Our second OP player is Diamond Gambit on a 5-0 winning streak, and he's such a big part in that.
Yeah, Diamond's first game completely carried as well. Just like Onomamne carrying that first game, Diamond really on his game as well. Actually, in both games. First game, just really kind of carried it alone. Second game, he managed to set up so many opportunities for his team, even after his level 1 going very wrong.
The next person that we're keeping an eye on is Freeze. We mentioned him as the fantasy leader already, and just him coming back into the LCS, really making his mark.
Yeah, Freeze definitely again and again keeps on showing. Since he joined this LCS team, he has just been showing such good results.
Yep, great stats, and his greatest performance today, and in combination with that Soren, fantastic play from the Copenhagen Wolves. The next one we mentioned is Betsy for Gambit, coming in as a sub in the mid lane, and 15 KDA in his first 2 LCS games, especially the Ahri, very good today.
Yeah, first game he didn't really manage to make his mark in that game, kind of played passive and just waited for his team to make the plays. Second game though, that Ahri really got very strong, and I think he really found his comfort in this game and just brought it home.
Yep. Those charms were instrumental as well in that Gambit win. And lastly, we gotta mention him, the Smite King here, Frederick, single-handedly winning game 1 for the Giants, and then the game today, also such a huge impact with that Baron steal as Jarvan.
Yeah, two Baron steals in 2 games, really, this guy is the Baron steal king of the week.
Going for that Cyanide crown, and 2 victories for the Giants in this week as well. And of those players, only 1 towered above the rest in his finest carry pants. Our week 5 MVP with 12 kills, 28 assists, and an 83 kill participation over 2 games. It's Gambit, Valiant leader and longtime jungler, Diamond. It was a hard choice, so the Wamna was also doing very well in this one, but in the end, Diamond on 2 different champions, proving that he can carry his team.
Yeah, Diamond is back, and it is showing. He is back in his groove, and the Diamond that is in his groove is a very scary Diamond.
Yeah, to quote Quick Shot, Diamond back is back. The Spring Split continues here in Berlin next Thursday with Giants Gaming versus Fnatic. The Unicorns of Love will try to topple SK Gaming, and Roccat will take on H2K. Eric, what game do you have your eyes on?
I really have my eyes on the next Elements game. Elements versus Meteor Makers, both teams. Elements, I really want to see if they can make this Kevin pick work out. They haven't really showed it yet. 1 week of extra practice, maybe they can make it work.
We will see. Of course, that all starts next Thursday at 6 p.m. Central European Time. That is 9 a.m. Pacific. But week 5 isn't over yet. The North American LCS picks up tomorrow with a match between the tied Team Liquid and Winter Fox. Cloud9 will face Team Impulse, and Dignitas will face Hot Pink GG's Counter Logic Gaming. All that coverage begins Friday at 9 p.m. Central European Time. That is noon Pacific. Well, that does it for us here in Berlin. I'd like to extend a special thank you to our guest Tabs for lending us his expert analysis this week. And on behalf of myself, the entire European LCS team, thank you for tuning in. Until next time, we'll see you in solo queue.
They don't need vision when they can just engage. They've TP'd onto Fnatic. Eddie's going to be taken out by Feathervin, but is it enough? Gambit is back!
I go on Reckless Storm. Nice! Nice! Nice!
And Roccat make Elements go 0-5.
Yeah, I have to carry. Okay? Please give me kill.
You have a fans there, Joey.
I have 3 fans.
Yeah,
Those are the Dutch guys.
I actually signed the banner.
Yeah.
Oh my god, you're so cool.
Nice!
She's dead.
Okay, good job.
Copenhagen Wolves, they might have still find the outfight here. Soren in the middle. They're going to take down Corey. They're going to look for more Freeze. A quadra kill. And the Copenhagen Wolves are victorious. Will the Unicorns find their consistency? We're about to find out. Turning them all away. They've caught Rydell as well. And they should. No, they can't take him down. Yes. Gonna flag and drag in. This could be some trouble. It's going. It's stolen. Frederick comes up with it. Cleaning up. Giants Gaming. How about a cherry on top? And here comes Freddy, they get the knockup, and H2K could be in some trouble, but the Meganar comes in. Svenskeren getting low, taken down. H2K pushing forward, and the League of Upsets continues.